Hello and
So
welcome to the
I'll just give you a quick introduction. My name is Jean-Paul Picard. I'm in my studio at the Newman Leather Building in Hoboken, New Jersey. I've lived in Hoboken since 1981, and I'm originally from Morristown, New Jersey. My parents were French Canadians, so that's why I'm both a Canadian and American citizen. And I used to go to Parsons School of Design, took a 30-second walk, got on the train, took the train, got off at Hoboken, took the path, arrived at Parsons School of Design. And that's where I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts. I was a communication design major, as well as photography and printmaking.
Oh, nice.
So,
Okay. So that was a great introduction. Thank you. The first question that I have for you is, can you describe what your artistic process is like?
yes, with the latest work that you see on the wall, what I do is I'm using the iPhone as the camera. And as a matter of fact, my first iPhone was a phone that had a camera. This is a camera that has a phone in the way I think of buying something. Okay, now.
Right.
And from now on, I'm always buying a camera that happens to have a phone on. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that I take my camera and I'll put myself, in this case, what you see is at the train station. Since I don't own a car, I commute everywhere. So there's a train station, there is a light rail station, and it has glass walls to prevent the wind from the river, but to have allow light through. And so it fractures light, it fractures what you're looking at, and stuff like that. So I've been experimenting with taking a photograph while moving the camera, and then taking that file, as much of it as possible, and manipulating it as little as possible to produce the piece that I'm doing. So I will do a lot of photographs. They're accidents, but I'm repetitively doing the accident. Then I'll come upload all the images onto the computer, and then I will go through and do an editing process like I do when I use, as any photographer would do. And I will select some, and then I go through a process of getting it ready for print. But what I'll do is I'll make, because these are bent photos, they're bent metal, what I'll do is I will print a test on paper, a good paper. And then what I'll do is I'll cut it. So there's a little bit of the top here, as you notice, the little triangles here are gone on this piece. Now I'm trying to figure out how am I going to fold it. By the way, this is the piece that we're talking about.
Oh, yes.
And so what I did was I might have folded, I may have made 3 or 4 of these, and I might have folded in the middle, folded in, folded out. With this case, I did this. And then I would pin it to the wall and get a feel if this is how I would like, or let's put it this way. The photograph is telling me how this is, how it should be folded. You know, it could have been folded the other way. Now, I print a number of these because what happens is after the first fold, it starts to lose its shape a little bit. And so to make it clear for me, I might make 4 little prints or 1 sheet with 4 repeats, and then fold it different ways, pack it up, and decide which one is the one I'm going to do. Then the file is prepared for printing, and this gets sent to California, where I'll get a plate. And this is a different print, but you can see that this is the metal piece, right? And then what I have to do is that because now I've done it in paper and I know how to fold it. Now, sometimes I could order the plate before I go through the printing, but sometimes I like to do that to be sure that it's a good image to work with. Then I take it to, and I'm going to move this, so hope you don't get seasick. I move it to this break and I fold it.
Oh, I see.
So it's called a break. Okay. I don't know why they call it a break, but it's called a break. And basically it's designed to fold metal. I have to what do you call it? I have to set it up. I have to set it up and brace it so I fold it. I also have to cover it up with a plastic or paper so I don't scratch it, the surface. Because the image is on the plate before I manipulate the plate. Traditionally, you manipulate the surface and then you put the image on the surface, you know, and then you trim. But I don't have that because of the way I'm working. I don't have that luxury. I have to print it and then cut it, but that means the image is already on the paper, is already on the metal. So if I was to do if I was to take like a jigsaw and cut an edge.
I'm sorry, your camera went out.
Oh, okay. Let me just see. I think I know what happened.
Okay, yep, I can see you now.
It's very touchy. Okay, host asked you to start your video. Okay, that's funny. The okay was on a different side. So anyway, and if I don't have my glasses, what am I which button am I pushing?
Oh.
So the if this was done in metal, I would have to cover this because a jigsaw will scratch the surface.
Oh, okay.
If I'm putting it in the break, if I fold it, it has to be protected. So it has to be taped and covered to protect it. So there's a lot of things. And since I was a printmaker, we were used to all these workarounds. If you did etching or lithography, you had because your hands were full of ink, you had wasted paper paper tongs, so you could just simply grab something, do it, and then when the tongs got too dirty, you threw them away, but it kept the surface or the white area around the print nice and clean.
Oh,
and so
okay.
you're always working in that, I'm always working in that kind of blend of the traditional and the digital. I used to say this when I was doing freelance graphic design. I'm good with a knife and a mouse. And that's pretty much my work process. Once I've bent it, I look, okay, it's okay, just fine. Then I have to put an armature in the back.
Oh, okay.
So I use an epoxy. I grind the back to some degree. Which one is the easiest? I think this is the easiest one to take down.
Oh,
and you can see, okay.
Yes, I see. Yep.
It's a lot of trial. There's a little bit of trial and error to make sure that it glues well, and that it makes it simple. You know.
Wow. I love the moment when you were talking about kind of like listening to your work and seeing how to bend it from that.
Yeah.
I think there could be so much said just like listening to your work too.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to work with film and working with digital, you have all these images. So you're looking through contact sheets, you're looking through digital contact sheets, as you will, and you're looking at them, and it's like, okay, what are you trying? What is it that's going to say? Usually you need the one photo, because if you're doing something for an editorial, you'll have maybe 20 images, but okay, it's a book, 20 images. Oh, it's a magazine, it's 10 images. Oh, it's a newspaper front page, one image. So it's sort of like, which is the most important image that explains what you want? And sometimes some of the images you show only help to tell a story, an editorial story, but they're not a photograph you hang on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It shows a step. I have photographed artists creating a piece. So I've watched them. I had one, he literally danced on his work as he painted that. But there were other scenes where it was just a painting as it's, at a stage. And that was, it was a good photo, but it was no, oh, we would show this by itself.
Mm.
So my work is I'm using a lot of I approach everything as when I used to work in the darkroom.
Wow. So my next
So
question is, what were you saying?
No, go right ahead.
Question is, movement. Movement seems to have a crucial part in your work. Not only do we see movement of the camera, like you were explaining earlier, we also see people walking and riding bikes, and we see a train about to depart. So I was wondering, what role does action and transportation play in your work?
Well, it so happens that a lot of fractured imagery happens when you're moving. We don't have one piece here, but I believe I had shown some images of a cover of where there was advertisement on a window of, let's say, a train, and I'm sitting on the inside of the train, and I'm looking out, and there are these dots, or there's a pattern, so you can kind of see through the window. And I don't know if I had shown some of that when I had sent my portfolios to you. But I find that the movement, and I find that the human figure really plays great with that imagery. If it's just something, an object, most of the time it doesn't have enough interest to me. I'm not saying it's not possible, but in most cases, there has to be some action or movement or something. This is one without a pattern, but this is one looking out the window.
Oh, wow.
What's happening is that I'm looking out of the PAT train. I'm looking toward the Pulaski Bridge, and the sun is setting. I'm going to work, and we're going through a bridge. And so what you're seeing is pieces of the bridge. So not only do I move the camera, but sometimes where I'm in is moving. So I'm capturing the image of that.
Wow, I love how it works together too. Like you said, like how you're moving the camera.
Yeah, this is one of my earlier style of work. I would take color paper, a high-grade art paper, paint. This is called digital ground. It's like a gesso. And obviously, if I were to print directly on the gray, the color of the paper would saturate out the vibrancy of the print. But then, if I was to print a digital ground, then some parts are very bright and some places are a little duller because I didn't paint completely. And so it's like, this is a method that was done with the original photographs, where the photographer painted silver elations onto a piece of paper or onto glass, and then put it into the camera and expose an image on it and then process it. So if you were to take the frame and the mat off an old photo, you would see it would be black. You would see black brush marks where the silver was painted, and it was was exposed. In this case, yes, was exposed to light. You know, in the digital
Yes.
world, you're always working in positives. You don't have a negative. So.
Yeah.
So that's how I started, because I started with printing and with the fact that an image could be off shape, but the paper remain a rectangle. So the image floats on the paper. And that's where I started to see, I said, this is the 21st century and photographs are still rectangles. That makes no sense. This is the third millennium. But everybody's
Right.
using, but you go to a photography. What do you have? Photography show. Photo, map, glass, frame. And then next to it is the same thing over and over again, all same sizes. And even if the photograph isn't the same size, the frame, it makes it the same size. Yes. And then the mat just increases. So one of the things I did was to get rid of the mat. And then I said, well, why don't I just get rid of the frame? I could save some money this way. So I mean, that's why artists don't frame their work. It wasn't because, they thought it looked good. It saved them money. I mean, really? Come on. Artists are cheap. You know that. So it's just the same money. So I said, well, I could save some money, or I could put the money towards the making of the piece. So I started to do that, and I started to work with dye bond, which is aluminum on two sides, with it's not a foam, but it's a plastic core in the middle.
Oh, okay.
And there are artists who paint on it, but a lot of photographers have been either mounting their work on it or having it printed directly on it. And so I used to have that done. And some of my older pieces, the ones that are not bent, was on dye bond. The only reason I don't use dye bond now is that it's not a bendable material. It's not designed to bend. It cracks. So I use the aluminum, and it works much better. But I'm a person who doesn't like glossy. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So now there is a sheen to these, but this is considered matte. It seems that aluminum can't be a true matte. Dye bond can be. Dye bond can be. And since we're in a world where you look at a TV, it's glossy. You look at an item, you look at an iPhone, it's glossy. You look at an iPad, it's glossy. You never look at anything printed. It's all glossy. Even a matted print in a traditional photograph frame and all that gets a little gloss from the glaze, the glass, unless you're using a high quality gallery glass. And we know artists are too cheap for that. So, I mean, really, so my trick is to try to remove as much of the gloss as possible and give it a different patina, a different surface. And I found that people do like that. I said, I explained to them about how I'm into the back, because they see the dye bonds and the aluminums together sometimes when they come to my studio, and they said, "Oh, we like it's fine." They think it's nice. They think it's a nice touch, but they don't think of it as like too glossy or anything. So that's the thing.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay, and so my next question, it still kind of goes hand in hand. So in most of these photographs, it seems as though the viewers are somewhat spectators. We're watching the people who are unaware, maybe, that they're being watched. The subjects are either turned away from the viewers or looking past them. What is the significance between the subjects and the viewers?
And the viewer. Well, most of the time, photographers work where they're people are not aware that they're being photographed. Sometimes I've had experience where someone got angry because they thought they were being photographed, and I didn't realize they were being photographed. I was looking at somebody else, but the way I, held the camera appeared.
Right.
So,
Wow.
and it's amazing that because of this, because I'm in something, a train, a car, or between walls. When I do the photographs, people don't necessarily see me. And if I'm photographing like in a park, like a fountain, which I see, I think I might have a few pictures from that will work. People may not notice me because they're paying attention to other people. So it really depends. I don't know how the person who's walking across is thinking or not. All I know is that their action and the way I've captured the action makes it interesting. I mean, it might be the color of their clothing. I mean, if one of my night shots, sometimes a lot of the night shots, which I've just recently started, and I would like to go back and do it, but the weather's gotten really bad, and they're not lighting the area like they used to. Everything is black, everybody's wearing black coats, black. It doesn't necessarily attract the eye. It doesn't necessarily, these are very, my art is very visual. It's not, and so I'm just doing that. If there's any particular thing, I'm thinking of the fact that here I am, I'm sitting next to a window, but the advertising world doesn't want me to really look out the window. They just want me to look through these little holes or this little fraction, or the train station says, well, you have these windows, but we're not going to clean the windows. You're going to leave them dirty. And so you're dealing with a fractured, diffused world. And then the movement of the movement of the sun, the movement of the vehicle that one is in, causes the changes. So that's all I can really say about it. I do know that when people look at my work, they are extremely surprised, and there's a big wow factor. There's a big wow factor. And I know it's true because I have people who are artists, painters. In the Newman Leather Building, we have several painters here, and they all go to me and said, that's wonderful. Matter of fact, people constantly say, I thought you didn't do painting. And what I take from that is not that it absolutely looks like painting, but what they try to capture in their painting. In other words, they have an aesthetic belief and it's coming out. My aesthetic belief is coming out. And so they're not used to that, especially in a world where there's so many photographs that the majority of photographs are just useful images, but they're not necessarily artistic, aesthetic works.
No, definitely. Because as a painter myself, when I saw your work, I was like, wow, it has such like a beautiful, like, painterly feel to it. And I also love the way that, like, as the viewer, we're like transported to the scene where it feels like we're right there, like looking through all of these windows, the dirty windows on the train.
Right. Or yeah. Yeah, that's really what I'm trying to do, and I'm just trying to make what I think is great art. The only thing is that it seems that these things are there to block our view instead of
Right.
in other words, all our views are obstructed. I call my work sweeps because of the movement of the camera, but I did create a show once that I called Sweeps Obscura, because you're with the series that where there's something filtering between me and looking out, whether it be very close to me or whether it be more like a wall of glass. And it could be any sort of filter, even rainstorm where you have drops on the window and stuff like that. I have many more images than I have time to print.
Okay, so for my last question, it is, what messages or themes do you feel yourself and your work set out to convey above all else?
My strongest theme is that I've always believed that photography is an art form, but it seems to be restricted. And so I didn't quite set out this way, but once I noticed that I could do what I'm doing with photography, that it's now part of the 21st century. And that I think one of the problems is that some people can't judge it because they're using 20th century aesthetics to judge it. And I go, you got to throw that all away. This is the 21st century. You've got to think in the fact of, it's amazing how I'll have a photograph, and you see sometimes my photographs seem a little tilted, and that's not because there's something wrong with the hanging. It's because, to me, that's the way it should hang, because the horizon and vertical are in the picture, not the outside. So it creates the shape. The background is the wall is your negative space, okay, versus on a piece of paper. So I feel that I'm breaking the mold of photography and bringing it up where it is shaped. As you know, you have two of my sculptures, and so that's even taking it one step further. Those photographs were all taken about when you see two photographs together, it means that they were taken about the same time, the same place. So it's just like almost the sweep photo, except it is two actual photos. That's another thing about my work. It looks like there's 4 photos here. No, it's one. You will know which ones of mine are 2 photos or 3 photos. Today, most photographs are 5 or 8 photographs that the computer has taken and readjusted. So then one part of the photograph is that was dark is lighter, one that was light was darker, so that it evens out. But it takes 8 photographs to do that. No, these are the one and only photographs. There's not 2 or 3 that were put together.
That is amazing. I don't have any more questions. Is there anything else you would like to add? Anything you're working on right now, or any shows you're going to be in soon? Anything at all?
Well, I'm at the Clifton Art Center. I have 3 works there, older work of mine. They're the Dibond work. Pro Arts was invited to do a show there. And so Pro Arts has a program with Sims that allow individual artists to show on Artsy for $100 a year. And so, so we were asked to show work that we would show on Artsy in this show. So I showed 3 of those. And I also have one piece, like the aluminum pieces you see here, at the Monmouth Museum for their photography show.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was great. It was so great hearing more about your work and meeting you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
With the assistance of grants from organizations such as Amboy Bank, Magyar Bank, Johnson & Johnson, New Brunswick City Center, Middlesex County Cultural and Heritage Commission, Merck & Co., and the Bank of Princeton, Alpha Art is confident that all who come will leave with a greater appreciation of the arts and the gallery showcasing of a variety of artists.